At dinner, my niece sneered, "We don't sit with you people," and they all thought it was hilarious. I gathered my son's things and walked out. That night, Dad texted, "You're sending the money tomorrow, right?" I answered, "Not a chance." The next morning, one message landed, and their laughter disappeared instantly. I knew it was a mistake the second I pulled into the driveway, but I kept telling myself to give them another chance. It was just dinner. Just one night. I had my son with me and he was excited to see his cousins. That's the only reason I agreed. I didn't want him growing up bitter the way I had. But I should have known better. Fool me once, right? The first red flag was the seating. My mom had set out place cards like it was some formal event, and I noticed ours were at the far end of the table, away from everyone else. Even my son looked confused. Jason's daughter Ava had a seat right next to my dad, practically in the throne spot. She was already smirking about something when we walked in. Jason gave me a half smile. He looked tired. He always does now. Danielle barely glanced up from her phone. She doesn't pretend to like me anymore, which I guess I should be grateful for. The fake politeness phase is over. I tried to ignore the weird setup and just focus on my son. He was so happy to be there, talking a mile a minute about school and his new science kit. I was slicing his chicken when it happened. Ava looked right at him and said, "Clear as day, we don't sit with you people." The whole table went silent for half a second. My fork froze mid-cut. Jason blinked like he wasn't sure he heard right. Danielle let out this snort laugh and covered her mouth. My dad started chuckling. My mom didn't even react. She just sipped her wine and reached for the butter like nothing had happened. I asked Ava what she meant. She smiled, that kind of smile kids give when they know they're saying something they're not supposed to, but they also know no one's going to stop them. She said, "Grandma says you act like you're better than us because you make money, and that's why we don't sit with you people." Nobody corrected her. Jason looked like he wanted to say something, but he didn't. He just kept cutting his meat, slower than before. Danielle actually laughed and said, "Kids, huh? They pick up everything." I looked at my dad. Nothing. Not a word. My mom finally glanced up and said, "Don't take everything so seriously, Sarah. He's just a kid." I gathered my son's things, stood up and told him we were leaving. He didn't argue. I didn't say anything else. Not to them. Not even to Jason. I walked out with my kid, got in the car and drove home in silence. That night, my dad texted like nothing had happened. "You're sending the money tomorrow, right?" They meant the mortgage. The one they refinanced 3 years ago to take a cruise and buy a new truck. They'd begged me for help when they realized they couldn't afford the payments. And I'd paid. Every single month. Because they were my parents. Because I thought maybe it would make things better. I stared at the message for a while before replying. Not a chance. I didn't sleep much that night. I kept going over everything in my head. The way they all sat there like that kind of talk was normal. Like it was acceptable. Like it was funny. The next morning, just after 7 a.m., my phone buzzed. One message. It was from my mom. And when I read it, I knew their laughter had finally disappeared. They had no idea what was coming next. The message said, "We were only joking. Don't be dramatic. You're still helping us this month, right? The cruise is in 2 weeks." That word, joking, made my skin crawl. There wasn't a trace of apology. No mention of Ava's words. No hint that they understood why I left mid-dinner with my son looking up at me like he'd done something wrong. They just expected me to brush it off and keep doing what I'd always done. Pay, smile, and stay quiet. I didn't respond. Instead, I opened the booking site and pulled up their cruise details. 2 weeks from now, they were supposed to board a luxury liner from Seattle. Alaskan glaciers. First-class suite. Balcony view. My dad had gone on and on about it for months. My mom had sent me a packing list and told me to make sure their loungewear was cruise appropriate. They hadn't paid a cent for any of it. Canceling was easier than I thought. I clicked through the process and watched thousands of dollars vanish from their itinerary. The money would be refunded to my card. I didn't feel bad. Not even a little. I should have done it the moment they laughed at my son. Then I called the bank. I had their mortgage on autopay, something I set up during a breakdown my mom had last winter about losing the house. She didn't cry for me. She cried for herself. I stopped that payment too. No warning. No explanation. And then I waited. 2 days passed. On the 3rd day my mom called. I let it ring. Then came the voicemail. "Hey honey. Weird issue with the cruise line. Says the reservation is gone. Can you check on that? We still need to pick our excursions." Excursions. That word too stuck. Like this was just a bump in their vacation planning. Like I wasn't sitting with my son trying to explain why a child in his own family talked to him like he was beneath her. Another voicemail, this time my dad. "The cruise people say the booking was cancelled. This better not be some punishment thing. We already booked the flights." Still calm. Still confident they were owed something. By the 5th day the tone shifted. A long, frantic message from my mom half shouting, "We told all our friends about this trip. You embarrassed us. You didn't even talk to us before doing something so extreme. We need that vacation." I replied once, "That's all I needed. You didn't pay for it." "I did. And I changed my mind. Same way you changed yours about who's worth sitting with." Then I muted both their numbers. That night Jason texted me. Just 3 words. "What happened now?" I called him. He answered on the first ring. He said my mom had been calling him nonstop. My dad too. Neither of them mentioned Ava's comment. Not once. Just rage about the cruise, the money, how Sarah's being ungrateful. He asked me what really happened. I told him the truth. From start to finish. He got quiet. Then he said I should have said something when Ava opened her mouth. I froze. I didn't want to make it worse. I told him it already was worse. That girl didn't come up with that line on her own. He hesitated, then said Danielle's been telling her that stuff. That you only come around when it's convenient. That grandma says you're controlling because you pay for things. Ava's hearing it from all sides. It hit harder than I expected. Not because I was shocked, but because it was so planned. So normalized. They were shaping a child into the same bitter, small person my mom had always been. Jason sounded exhausted. Said Danielle was getting more aggressive, talking like it was my fault that the cruise was ruined, that now his parents would suffer, that maybe if he stood up to me I'd cave. I didn't tell him my next move. I just said he might want to talk to Ava before she forgot how to think for herself. Because I wasn't done. And if they thought the cruise was the worst of it, they had no idea what was about to happen. I didn't speak to any of them for a full week after that call. No texts. No updates. Nothing. It was the first time in years that my life felt quiet. Peaceful even. My son went to school. I worked. We made pancakes on Sunday. I didn't check my phone every 5 minutes expecting some guilt trip message. Then Jason called again. He started with, "They're trying to drag me into it now." Said I need to make you see reason. I asked him if he was planning to. He said no. Apparently my mom had called his office pretending it was urgent. Told the receptionist there was a family emergency. When he called her back she started crying, saying she and my dad had to cancel their flight, that they'd already told all their church friends about the trip, and now they were the laughingstock of their circle. Then she threw in the mortgage. Said they were behind and without my support the bank was going to take the house. I told Jason they'd been behind for years. That nothing I stopped paying would have been a surprise to any of them if they'd bothered looking at their finances instead of counting on me to clean everything up. Then I told him something else. Something I hadn't shared before. I'd been paying their credit card debt too. Quietly. For almost 8 months. I didn't even know what half of it was for. I just saw the overdue notices start piling up in my inbox, because they used my email to avoid theirs, and I made the minimum payments because I couldn't stand the idea of them ruining their lives over sheer stupidity. Jason went quiet for a while. Then he said, "You need to tell them you're done. Not just stop paying. Tell them outright. They need to hear it." So I did. I sent one message to the family group chat, the same one they used for birthday plans and holiday updates and pictures of Ava with her spelling bee trophies. It said, "Effective immediately, I will no longer be providing financial assistance. I've canceled all payments, future and pending. Do not contact me for money, support or explanations. You've made it clear how you view me and my son. Now you can figure it out without us." My mom responded in 30 seconds. "How dare you embarrass us like this? We've told the family everything you've done. You'll regret this." Then my dad. "I always knew you'd turn your back on us eventually. We just hoped you'd grow out of being spiteful." Danielle chimed in too. "This is unbelievable, Sarah. You're punishing innocent people because a child made a mistake. Grow up." Jason didn't say anything in the group. But a few hours later he called again. He said Ava was starting to ask questions. Real ones. She'd overheard her mom saying nasty things and asked him if it was true that I thought I was better than everyone. He told her no. That I was the only one who ever helped. That I was the only reason her grandparents still had a house. That I loved her even when the adults around her didn't know how to behave. And that's when it started. The unraveling. Danielle exploded at him. Said he was gaslighting her. Said I was turning him against his own family. That if he didn't fix things she'd go to his parents directly and sort it out. He told her not to bother. He said if you want to take their side go ahead. But I'm done being their buffer. Sarah's not the problem. They are. And I'm not dragging our daughter down with them. It was the first time I ever heard him take a side. And it was mine. The collapse was coming. I could feel it. And I was no longer standing underneath. It was the following Monday when everything took a sharp turn. One I didn't see coming. I was sitting in a budget review meeting at work when my phone buzzed twice in a row. First from the school office. Then from an unknown number that turned out to be the counselor's direct line. I stepped out immediately. Something in me already knew it was about my son. The counselor's voice was calm but careful. She said my son had asked to talk, that he seemed upset and wanted to speak privately about family stuff. That's how she phrased it. I drove to the school without even thinking. The meeting forgotten. When I walked into the counselor's office, he was sitting cross-legged on the floor with a book open in his lap. Not reading, just flipping pages. He looked up and said, "Ava's mad. She said it's our fault her grandma cries now." I knelt next to him, asked what else she said. He hesitated, then added, "She said you stole from them. That's why they're poor now. She said you ruined everything." Felt like someone dropped a lead weight on my chest. I didn't let him see that. We left together. I told the school I'd keep him home for the rest of the day. That evening I called Jason. Told him what happened. At first he didn't say anything. Then he sighed and asked if it happened during lunch. Asked why. He said Danielle picked her up that day. First time in months. It wasn't random. I sat on the other end of the line, stunned. Then he said something I never expected. "I'm separating from her." I thought I misheard. But he said it again, clear this time. He said he'd spoken to a lawyer. That he didn't want Ava raised in that environment. That Danielle wasn't the same person anymore. Or maybe she never was and he just didn't see it. She'd been whispering poison into their daughter's ear, probably for years now, but it was getting worse. And now Ava was saying those things out loud. In school. To a kid who didn't understand what he'd done wrong except be born to a mother who wouldn't roll over anymore. Jason said Danielle had started talking about how Sarah always had control, and someone needs to put her in her place. She'd gotten close with my mother lately, too close. They were talking daily, complaining about me, about how Jason wasn't handling me, how he'd allowed me to embarrass the family. Then came the most unexpected part. He said they asked me to take your son for a weekend. Said it might be good for him to spend time with real family, without you around. I didn't say anything. He followed it up with, I said no. I told them not to call again. I told Danielle too. I'm done being used to control you. That hit me hard. Because I knew what it meant. Jason had finally picked a side. Not the neutral middle ground he'd always tried to hold, but a side. I didn't feel victorious. I felt sad. For him. For Ava. For what it had come to. But also relieved. Because for the first time I wasn't fighting alone. The next day my mom sent a group email to several of our extended relatives. I only found out because my cousin Melissa forwarded it to me. The email was full of lies, that I'd stolen their money, canceled their trip out of spite, and was trying to turn Jason's child against her own mother. She even attached fake screenshots of texts I never sent. Melissa's email said, "Thought you'd want to know what's being said about you. She sounds unstable. Don't worry, I don't believe a word of it." Then she added, "If you ever want to explain your side to the rest of the family, I'll help. Because this is ugly. And it's not on you." That changed everything. I didn't respond to my mom's lies. I didn't send a follow-up. I let it sit. But later that night, Jason texted me. "I told Danielle I want full custody. She lost it. Said you're brainwashing me." I said no, I just finally started listening. They'd underestimated both of us. For years. And now they were about to learn what it looked like when the two people they dismissed the most stopped playing along. I thought it would end after the cruise cancellation. I thought losing the money would be enough to make them back off, lick their wounds and blame me in silence. But I gave them too much credit. People like that don't let go. Not when they've built their whole identity on who they can manipulate. It started quietly. A fraud alert from my bank. Someone had tried to log into my account using an old password I hadn't used in years. The kind of password I once shared with my parents back when I helped them pay utilities online. I brushed it off. Changed everything. Locked down accounts. Moved funds. Then I got an email from the cruise line. Not mine, my mom's. She tried to reactivate the cancelled booking, using my confirmation number. He even gave them my name. She must have been hoping they'd let her fix it without needing the original card. The cruise rep said they flagged it because she was angry and uncooperative when they said the booking didn't exist anymore. 2 days later I found a letter in my mailbox. Not a text. Not an email. A real letter in my mom's handwriting. It was 5 pages long. The first page listed things she said I owed them. Money for the house, groceries, even gas they supposedly used driving me to appointments when I was a teenager. The second page had photocopies of their cruise plans with handwritten notes like, "We dreamed about this for years and this was the only thing we looked forward to." Pages 3 and 4 were printed screenshots of Facebook posts from distant relatives. Photos of their own family vacations circled in red ink. On the 5th page she wrote, "You were supposed to take care of us. That's what good daughters do." I didn't respond. Jason called me a day later, furious. Said Danielle had started bringing Ava into their fights, saying things like, "Your aunt is tearing our family apart. and if your dad cared about us he'd stand up to her. Ava was quiet around me the last time I saw her. Now I knew why. Then Jason told me something that turned everything inside out. He said he got a letter too. From the mortgage lender. Apparently, someone had added his name as a co-signer, without his consent. It was buried in a series of modified paperwork, submitted last month. When he asked for the documents, there it was. His name, his fake signature. They'd used old documents he'd signed years ago as a template and forged the rest. They used their own son's name to buy time from the bank. Jason drove straight to their house. I didn't ask what was said, but I could guess. He called me afterward, voice lower than usual, common that way people get when they've crossed some internal line and aren't looking back. He said, "I'm pressing charges if the bank doesn't drop it. I already signed an affidavit. They committed fraud, Sarah. That's what this is." He told my mom and dad to never contact him again. Said he'd take Ava full-time if it came to it. Danielle lost her mind when she found out. Accused him of abandoning her just like I abandoned the family. Then came the avalanche. My mom, out of desperation or pride, probably both, sent a mass email to every relative in her address book. She said Jason had turned on them. Said I manipulated him into cutting ties. Claimed I was blackmailing them. That we were stealing their home out from under them, as punishment for one dinner that didn't go perfectly. My cousin Melissa sent me the email. Forwarded it with one line. She sounds unhinged. Everyone knows it now. That night Jason texted me. They told the bank I made the payments last year. They're saying you lied. That you stole from them. I have no idea how far they'll go. But I did. I knew exactly how far. Because when the manipulation stops working, people like our parents don't retreat. They double down and try to burn everything around them. But this time Jason and I weren't flammable. They had no money. No more help. No one left to threaten. And the investigation from the bank was now real. Their house would likely go into foreclosure within 2 months. Jason's lawyer had already notified them that legal action was on the table. It wasn't just family drama anymore. It was criminal. And still, through all of it, not one apology. Not one moment of reflection. They weren't afraid of losing us. They were afraid of looking like they'd failed to control us. But the truth was, we were never really theirs to begin with. The final attempt came wrapped in desperation, and it was pathetic. Jason had already stopped answering unknown numbers, but that morning one got through. It was our dad, borrowing a friend's phone. Jason answered out of habit and put it on speaker. I was sitting in the kitchen with him, drinking coffee while Ava and my son played in the next room. Dad's voice was shaky but still smug in that way he always sounded when he thought he had leverage. He started off pretending it was a mix-up, that he'd accidentally missed a payment, and the bank was being unreasonable. He said it wasn't too late to fix things. Then he slipped into the real reason for the call. "Jason, if you just make one call to the mortgage company, tell them you're handling it now, they'll back off. They just need reassurance. You don't even have to pay anything yet. Just be the adult in the room for once." Jason didn't respond. Just let him keep talking. Then came the usual blame. "Your sister turned this into something it didn't need to be. She's always been like this, always thought she was better than everyone. He made you weak." And that's when Jason hung up. We sat in silence for a second. Neither of us was angry. It just felt done. That was the last time either of us answered a call from them. 3 weeks later, the foreclosure became official. The house was listed as bank-owned. They were out. And it came out that they hadn't made a full payment in almost 9 months. They'd been patching together partial payments, delaying, deflecting, hoping I wouldn't notice. They really thought I'd step in last minute. They'd seen me do it before. Bail them out. Pay quietly just to stop the chaos. But not this time. After that, they moved into a rental apartment in the next town over. Much smaller. No yard. I heard it from Melissa, who also told me our mom was going around telling relatives we'd stolen the house and cut them off out of nowhere. According to her version, Jason and I had always been unstable. I was controlling and cold, and Jason was spineless and manipulated by his sister. And the wildest part? Some people believed it. A few cousins blocked me. One aunt sent me a message saying, "I'm so disappointed in how you've treated your parents after all they've done for you." All they've done. I didn't even answer. Jason said it best. Let them believe what they need to. The truth doesn't care who believes it. Danielle tried to make a comeback too. After Jason filed for legal separation and full custody, she suddenly decided she wanted to be a family again. She begged him to reconsider. But Ava had stopped asking about her mom. Stopped flinching when doors closed. Stopped calling me crying when she overheard another fight. Jason didn't change his mind. When Ava came over the first weekend after he moved out, she brought a drawing. It was her, my son Jason, and me holding hands in front of a small house with a big tree. She said she liked it better here. It was calmer. And that's when I knew. We weren't just free. We were healing. All of us. No more bank accounts with secret transfers. No more dinners where I had to pretend someone else's kid didn't just call mine you people. No more second chances for people who'd never earned the first. Our parents, they still have their stories. Their fake apologies that are just insults with a coat of guilt. Their half-truths and manipulations. Their constant need to control a family that no longer includes them. They'll keep spinning their lies at reunions and holidays we won't attend, probably until they're gone. But the only people left who believe them are the ones who never really knew us anyway. Jason and I, we live our lives now without checking our phones every hour, without emergency calls, without crisis cleanups. We're not tangled up in their mess anymore. We walked away. And when we looked back, there was nothing left standing. The update. It's been a few months since everything went down. I wasn't planning to update anything. We've been focused on keeping things quiet, stable. But something happened last week that finally made me laugh. Real laugh. The kind I hadn't felt in years. Apparently, our parents told everyone that Jason came back to help them. They even claimed he'd moved in temporarily to rebuild the family. They used this lie to guilt another cousin into co-signing on a new apartment lease after they got evicted from the rental. Problem was, that cousin? She ran into Jason at the grocery store last weekend. Eva. In a totally different city. Jason said she looked confused and asked how his move back home was going. When he told her the truth, that he hadn't spoken to our parents in months, had full custody of Ava, and hadn't set foot in their apartment or the town since the foreclosure, her face apparently went blank. She said she just lent our parents $2,000 to help them get back on their feet. Jason called me that night. We just sat there laughing on the phone. Quiet, bitter, cathartic laughter. They're still lying. Still pulling strings. But now the strings are snapping. One by one, people are seeing the cracks. And the best part? We didn't have to lift a finger.